we do here in class is we practice connecting breath and body through a series of meditation and yoga techniques and practices, breath work. The idea is that you step off the mat feeling better physically than you did stepping on, so don't get too hung up on it, having to look a certain way. It's not a dance routine. Go at your own speed. Ideally, you'd be going at your breath's pace. So we're working on slowing down and smoothing out the breath. Good morning, Practical Feelings. Hi. Lauren, how are you? Yeah, so don't get too hung up on the shape. Just worry about the feeling in the body. We want to create some openness, some awareness, some mindfulness in how we move. We'll start with a seated grounding seated meditation and go into yoga movements, functional movements, joint resiliency, lymphatic shaking, some more breath work, and then with a nice long shavasana, I'll play some singing bowls for you. Always open to questions throughout class. If you just type them into chat, I'll do my best to give you another alternative to the movement or answer your questions. Just during meditations, I don't really answer any questions, but I'll get to it as soon as we have our eyes opened again. So yeah, we're gonna start seated. Let's see. Let's pause the music. Don't need music to meditate. Alright. I'm going to start in a comfortable seated position. So the invitation is to sit on the ground in cross-legged in Sukhasana. If there's a moment to do some chest stretching and opening, if that's a thing, it is a thing. That'd be tight. Okay, cool. Yeah, so we'll make sure to do some chest stretches, open up the upper body. Got it? Cool. So Sukhasana, sitting cross-legged, is the invitation here. But of course you can do this sitting in a chair. Good morning, Greg. Hello, welcome, welcome. Just in time for our meditation. However you sit most comfortably is best. If you are in a chair, just scoot forward a bit so your back's not up against the back, and instead you're just stacking heart over hips, head over heart. Hands come to rest on the lap, either palms down to ground down or palms up to give and receive energy if you feel you've got a little extra to give today. Eyes can close or lower to a soft gaze just beyond your legs. We'll start with 3 cleansing breaths. In through the nose, shoulders rise up towards the ears, and an audible sigh out through the mouth, shoulders drop away. Let the breath continue in and out through the nose if that's available, returning to a natural breath's pace. Take a moment here just to arrive. Let go of everything that came before and everything that's to come up after. And become present to yourself here in this moment. Here in this space. And begin to allow sounds into your awareness. Just allowing all sounds in, all part of this moment, this experience. Notice the temperature of the air on your skin. And feel the weight where your body makes contact with the ground below you. Weight of your hands on your knees. Just get a general sense of how the body feels in this moment. And begin to scan the body from head down towards toes. Checking in for any places of tightness or sensitivity. Any restlessness or fidgeting. And taking note to work into these places that call out for your attention throughout your practice here today. And we'll shift that awareness from the body, Annamaya Kosha, to Pranamaya Kosha, the energetic level. Noticing where you're at energetically in this moment on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being exhausted, fatigued, ready to crawl into bed. 10 being so full of energy, it's hard to sit still. Bring that awareness to the breath. No need to change it, just observe inhalations, exhalations, and the space in between. And as we continue to observe our levels of energy and our breathing patterns, we may begin to draw correlations between the quality of the breath and our level of energy in that moment. We'll shift that awareness up once more to Manomaya Kosha, the mind. Allow thoughts and feelings to arise freely here. Just observing these thoughts from a distance. No need to engage. Watching them like clouds passing in the sky. Notice what are the quality of the thoughts today. Do they have a positive or a negative tilt to them? Are they ruminating on the past or attempting to predict the future? Not right or wrong, not good or bad, just something to notice. We'll bring that attention back down to the breath. This time actively expanding the breath. Every inhale sips in a little more air. And every exhale lets something more go. Inhaling through the nose, filling the belly with air like a balloon inflating, it expands. Exhaling through the nose, belly button pulls in towards spine, deflating, exhaling all air from the lungs. Morning ethereal. And here we'll go into our pranayam, our breath work that we'll be working on all month. It's called Nadi Shodhana, alternate nostril breathing. So again, taking the right hand and bringing down the index and middle finger. So you're going to use the thumb and the ring finger for this. First, just a cleansing breath in through the nose and an audible sigh out the mouth. Then the thumb covers the right nostril. Inhale through the left nostril. Cover left nostril, release right, exhale. Inhale, same side. Switch, exhale out the left nostril. Inhale left. Switch, exhale right. Inhale right. Switch, exhale left. Inhale left. Switch, exhale right. Inhale right. Switch, exhale left. Continuing like this. Inhale, same side. We switch at the top of the inhale to exhale out the alternate nostril. Continue at your own breath's pace. Let yourself get through an entire inhale and an entire exhale. No need to rush. It'll take longer since the space of the breath is confined to a single nostril. Relax the jaw, relax the space between the eyebrows, relax the right shoulder. And the next time you exhale out the left nostril, no rush to get there. Release the hand from the face, release any effort from the breath, returning to a natural breath's pace. And just notice how it feels now to breathe without restriction. Nadi Shodhana, alternate nostril breathing, is all about balancing out the energies within the body. Hands come to meet at heart center, palms pressed together in Anjali Mudra, no space between the fingers and the thumbs pressing to the sternum. Consider here setting an intention or a dedication for your practice, your reason for showing up to the mat today. And we'll seal that intention with the sound of Om. You're invited to chant along with me, of course. First, a cleansing breath. Allow the hands to release to the lap, chin drops towards chest. And then an inhale, right ear rolls over towards right shoulder. Exhaling, chin to chest, left ear rolls to left shoulder. Just gently allowing the head to roll side to side here. And the next time the head rolls through center, bring it up to neutral, and we begin to roll the shoulders forward. Just opening up the space between the shoulder blades and the upper back. It's okay for your eyes to even still be closed at this part. You know what you're doing. And we'll change directions, rolling the shoulders back, opening up, beginning to open up the chest and space around the collarbones. And coming to stillness in the shoulders. Let's just do some neck rolls here. So I'll just turn to the side so you can see what these are all about. From the shoulders down, we're staying still. Just the head and neck are moving here. Chin drops towards chest, nose reaches towards the ground, towards the wall in front, up towards the sky, and back towards the wall behind. Scoop the chin back in. Smoothing out this movement to create a nice, slow, smooth circle. We're going to change directions. Chin scoops in, head tilts back, chin up towards sky and forward. Keep the breathing strong here. Movement slow and smooth. Visualizing every vertebra in your cervical spine moving freely and independently. Got one more circle here. And back to center. Then just drop the ear side to side. Just kind of shaking that off. Alright, then inhale, arms sweep up overhead. The exhale will bend over to the right. So keep this left hip glued to the ground or the block below you. We're reaching, really trying to open up the space and elongate that space between left hip and shoulder. You might even come down onto this elbow, or this elbow can bend. Don't get too hung up if it reaches or not. Don't lift up the hip to make that happen. Keep it glued either here or here. We're breathing into these intercostal muscles, the space between the ribs. And here we'll just do some back strokes. You need to open that shoulder up. Any clicks or cracks, just observing them, taking note of them. No need to add a story to it. It's not about having a good or a bad shoulder or anything like that. You can go forward a couple, or change directions if you were already going forward, go back. And then we'll bring it all the way back up to center. Deep breath in to reset. And exhale over to the left. First, just reaching through the fingertips, pressing down through the hips. So we're actively pressing down and up to spread that space between the ribs, the intercostal muscles. The left elbow might bend, might even reach the ground. No worries if it does or doesn't. We're just taking deep breaths into the side body now. Mindful enough to turn the chest towards the ground. If anything, we're opening the chest towards the sky. So it'll end up really just facing straight ahead of you. Let's begin to work into these back strokes here. Working on that shoulder mobility. Yesterday in class, we really focused on shoulders. So that's actually a great tie-in today for our chest opening class. Really, in yoga, they always call it heart opening, which is really sweet. Physiologically, we're opening up the pectoral muscles. It's all connected. So you might notice one shoulder is more clicky and crackly than the other. Let's change directions. And we're just noticing that. So we can make these comparisons and observations within our body without judgment, without labeling it as better or worse. And we'll bring the arm up overhead and sweep it back up to center. All right, deep breath in to reset. And exhale, twist to the right. Left hand lands on right knee, right hand lands on the ground behind you to open the chest towards the side wall. Inhale back up through center. And exhale to the left. Following the breath in to rise. And out to twist. In to rise. Out to twist. First twists of class, probably or potentially of the day. So we're just taking it easy here. It doesn't have to be a record-breaking twist. Just waking the body up to this direction of movement. Last time over to the left. Elbows bend and hands come to ear height. Let's just wave the hands out, just beginning to bring a little warmth and movement into the ligaments, tendons, and muscles of the wrists before we put any weight on them. Palms slip down towards the ground, fingers wiggle side to side. Then palms flip towards the sky. We're really reaching the fingertips back here like your fingernails are going to touch the forearms. Fingers spread wide and we're rotating side to side. No moving the elbows or the shoulders. We're just focusing on the wrists here. 3, 2, 1. Let's just shake off water, nice and gentle. All right. Legs extend out in front. Let's wake up the lower body. Spread and scrunch the toes. Roll out your ankles. Change directions. And knees bend, feet come nice and wide, like mats distance apart. And we'll just drop the knees side to side. Just beginning to bring movement into the hips. Next time the knees fall over to the right, bring your right hand in closer to your hip on the ground. Left arm sweeps up, we'll lift the hips and the chest, reaching up for an inhale. And exhale, hips touch down, we'll switch to the other side. Right arm sweeps up, lifting the hips, squeeze the glutes to support the lower back here. And we'll switch sides. So just connecting half a breath to the movement. Inhale to rise. Exhale to switch. So I'm not spending too much time here, just waking our bodies up to this motion. Once more to each side. Nice, meeting back in center. Let's actually drop the knees over to the right. Hands come down to frame the right foot, right knee rather, and we'll bring it back to tabletop pose. Hands below shoulders, knees below hips. And the back is straight, just like a table. On an inhale, belly drops, hips and chest rise for our cow pose. And exhaling, round in the spine, chin tucks towards chest for cat pose. Inhaling, the hands press down and back, knees pressed down and forward like you're trying to scrunch the mat together. That grip is going to give you more leverage to arch your spine even more. And exhale, press the ground away, hands press down and forward, knees press down and back like you're trying to rip your mat apart for leverage to get deeper into your cat pose. Following your breath here, let the speed of your body be informed by the length of your breath. So that most of the time you're spent in transition instead of pausing or holding the breath at the top or bottom of each pose. And the next time you exhale through cat pose, hold it there and squeeze all the air out, really, really rounding in the spine, pulling belly button in towards spine. And release to neutral. Take a deep breath in, side out. Let's inhale, the right arm sweeps open towards the sky. And exhale, weave it through, landing for thread the needle pose. So we're landing right shoulder and side of the head onto the ground. Hips stay stacked over knees. We're using the left hand to press the ground away, stacking this left shoulder over the right shoulder to get a twist in the lower back. Strong, pressing the ground of that bottom right arm. Left leg might extend out behind you. You can really press through that heel to start to give the calf a bit of a stretch. Bend and extend, bend and extend. And to play with balance, you might point the toes and even float the leg up. Just being mindful to take your time. Momentum is not your friend here. And worst case, you just roll onto your butt, which is okay. We're just trying to move mindfully, slowly, with control. More deep breath here, really reaching through those toes if your leg is lifted. And then, like pressing rewind, the foot floats back down to the ground. Bend the knee. And right arm sweeps up towards the sky. Exhale, touching down. Just turning so that I can talk towards the mic. Left arm sweeps open towards the sky. And exhale, weave the arm through, landing side of the head and left arm and shoulder on the ground. We use that right hand to press the ground away, bringing a twist into the lower and transverse spine. Breathing fully here. Hips are stacked over the knees. You're feeling a bit of a stretch, or maybe a big stretch, on that left shoulder blade, on or around rather. Option here to extend the right leg straight And here we just have a couple bends and extends to start waking up the back of the leg there, the calf muscle. So play with balance. You can point the toes, bringing that foot to a bit of a little levitation. And you can float the leg up towards the sky, nice and slow. We're still breathing fully here, even in the contortion of a pose, especially during balance. It can kind of feel like it would be easier if we held our breath, but that is not true. We want to learn to breathe through all of our poses, as uncomfortable as it might get. And gently float that foot down, like pressing where you want. Knee touches down, and left arm sweeps back up, opening towards the sky. Release the hand down to the mat. Alright. And tuck the toes under. We'll sit back, giving the toes a bit of a stretch. If you have yoga blocks or books that you've been practicing with, don't get too hung up if you don't, but if you do have them nearby, then now's a good time to just place them to the right and left side of the feet. Okay, we're coming up to kneeling. Knees are just hips distance apart or so. Just kind of naturally falling straight down. And we'll bring the left hand to that block or this heel. Right arm reaches up and back. So this is a half camel pose, Ardha Ustrasana. I'm squeezing the glutes, pressing the hips forward, and reaching up through this right arm. So you feel a deep, deep stretch through this whole right side body. Lifting the chest, imagine there's a string attached to your sternum pulling you skyward. Just got one more breath here. And sweep the arm down to bring yourself upright. Take a moment here in neutral. And then right arm releases down towards right foot or a stacked block. Squeezing the glutes, hips press forward. Left arm sweeps up and open. Lifting the chest up towards the sky, pressing the hips forward. Ardha Ustrasana, half camel pose on the other side. Reaching here. Got one more deep breath here. Knee arm sweeps down. We'll bring it up to neutral. Release the hands down in front of you. Toes tuck under. Hips press up. We're just walking, tiptoe the hands back, back, back towards the feet. Feet heel toe towards the edges of the mat. And we'll take a deep bend in the knees for our malasana, deep squat. So we are in deep squat. And then extend the legs long, hips up high for forward fold. We're just going between these two motions. Deep squat, forward fold. Doesn't have to be your deepest deep squat, doesn't have to be your deepest forward fold. We're just really waking up the backs of the legs and the back body here. There are a lot of back bending. I'm going to do some forward folding to keep the body nice and balanced. Next time the legs are extended out straight, we'll hold them there and release your hands from the ground. If you're feeling intense pressure in the hamstrings, so the back of your thighs, or your lower back, just bring a bend to the knees. Because right now we just want to let the back release. So give the head a nod yes. Shake no. You grab opposite elbows to create a frame for the head for ragdoll. Here's just a little free movement. You can allow your upper body to swing freely here, creating figure eights or back and forth. Just let the weight of your head and shoulders elongate all the vertebrae along the spine. So like I said, the knees can be really bent here to make that so. We'll release the hands down, bend in the knees, and roll it all the way up to stand. Arms sweep up when you get there. And exhale, hands to heart center. Nice. Let's bring the feet in so that big toes come to touch, just a little space between the heels so the ankles don't knock together. Inhale, arms sweep up overhead, head tilts back to follow the fingertips, and exhale, forward fold, bending in the knees. On your way down, inhale, halfway lift, hands on shins. And exhale, hands down to the ground, right foot takes a giant step back. Left knee over left ankle. And then we'll bring it up right to a high lunge. You can use your hands on your thigh for a step in between, just for stability. Left hip pulls back, right hip pulls forward. And then arms sweep up overhead. Exhale, shoulders melt away from the ears. I'm pressing back through my right heel. Legs are strong. Fingers interlace. And then come back behind your head. Allow the thumbs to release down the sides of your neck. And then I'm going to press my hands into my head. Press my head into my hands to tilt back. And to leverage my elbows open. So elbows are forward naturally. Okay, we're going to bring the elbows back. So I'm trying to pull my elbows away from one another. I'm squeezing my shoulder blades in towards one another, like I'm holding a pencil between them. Still, my legs are strong and stable. They haven't changed. They're the foundation to this pose. The gaze might go up towards where the front wall meets the ceiling, and we're breathing here fully. Strong, strong, strong. We're putting effort in the entirety of this pose. Deep breath in here. And releasing back to normal high lunge on the exhale. Hands release down to the ground. Right foot steps back to meet left in your plank pose. Big toes come to touch. We'll drop the heels over to the right and left arm sweeps open to the sky for side plank. We're here just for a moment, really lifting the hips towards the sky. Deep breath in. And exhale. Hand comes forward towards the wall in front. Full body stretch. And hand down to the ground, back to normal plank pose. Inhaling to high plank, roll onto the tiptoes. And exhale, lower down chaturanga. Then knees, chin, chest touch down. We'll just bring it all the way down to the ground. Tops of the feet flip, so the shoelace part of the feet are on the ground. Mouth, chin, or forehead centered. And the hands come back behind you. Fingers interlace, like you're holding your own hand. If your hands don't reach, you can hold a small hand towel here or a bandana to close the space. Or just keep the hands down by the sides, pinkies touching the legs. On an inhale, squeeze the glutes, chest and shoulders rise. Tops of the feet are pressing into the ground. So hard that the knees lift. And the arms reach up too. So we're still gripping with hands together. The arms are lifting and reaching back towards the feet behind you. It's a variation of Shalabhasana locust pose. So full breathing here. Option to lift the legs as well, only if that doesn't bring pain to your lower back. Focusing more on opening up the upper body here. Got one more deep breath. Release the legs, release the chest, shoulders, and head, and finally releasing the arms. Bring the hands underneath the shoulders. We'll send it back for child's pose. Big toes come to touch, space between the knees, and hips touch down towards the heels. Let the head fall heavy in between the arms. Hands, palms pressing into the ground so hard that the elbows stay lifted. Deep breath in through the nose here. Audible sigh out. I'm pressing to tabletop pose, toes tuck under, hips press up high for downward facing dog. You can find your spacing here. Bending and extending one leg and then the other, pedaling out the feet. I'm sending the hips up and back behind you towards where the back wall meets the ceiling. Heels are pressing down towards the ground regardless if they touch or not. And let the chest and head be heavy. It's like you're trying to bring your armpits to the ground. Deep breath in through the nose. Side out through the mouth. Once more like that. Then right leg sweeps up and back behind you. Bend in the knee and stack left hip over right hip. Three-legged dog. Really reaching this knee towards the sky, squeezing that left glute to make that so. And exhale, tiger's pose. Rounding in the spine, knee comes in towards nose. Rolling onto the tiptoes of the left foot, shoulders come up over the wrists. The right foot steps up between the hands. It's okay if it takes more than one step. The left foot steps up to meet it, big toes come to touch, and inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. And inhale rolls you all the way up to stand. Arms sweep up when you get there. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, arms sweep up overhead. Eyes follow fingertips. Full body stretch. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale to a halfway lift, hands on shins. And exhale, hands down to the ground. Left foot takes a giant step back. So you get that nice big step by bending in the right knee to give you the space for the big step back. Pressing back through the left heel, right knee is over right ankle. We'll bring it up to a high lunge. And use that thigh as a step in between just to stabilize. Left hip's pulling back, right hip's pressing forward, working towards getting the hips square to the short end of the mat. So notice here, we want our shoulders up over the hips. If that's not happening for you with your legs straight and you find your shoulders you're always like leaning forward, you can bend in this back knee and that's going to give you the space to get shoulders up over hips. Your left thigh or hip flexor is probably just too tight as of right now to get there, and that's all right. It's just something to notice. It's going to take a little bit more strength to hold it there. Otherwise, we're really pressing this back of the knee towards the sky. Arms come up overhead if they're not there already, and exhale, shoulders melt away from the ears. Fingers interlace, and then just change the interlace. So if your right index finger is on top, bring your left index finger on top. So goofy grip. Hands, interlaced fingers come behind the head, and release the thumbs down the sides of your neck. Now press the head into the hands, press the hands into the head, and use that leverage to open the shoulders out by opening the elbows out to the sides. Shoulder blades squeeze in towards one another, and chest can tilt up towards the sky. So we just change the orientation of the hands, the grip of the hands to create new pathways in the brain. And just break up old patterns, disrupt old patterns. when we are working on building mindfulness in our bodies and our lives, breaking up of patterns is going to bring your awareness level up. One more deep breath here. We'll release back through regular high lunge. Hands come down to the ground. And step the right foot back to meet the left. Big toes come to touch and drop the heels over to the left. Right hand stacks over left hand for side plank on the other side. Just got a deep breath in here, really pressing the hips towards the sky. Exhale, arm reaches overhead towards the wall in front of you, or on top of you, if you will, for a full stretch. And then hand releases down for a regular plank pose once more. Deep breath in here, roll onto the tiptoes, and exhale, we lower down all the way. Knees, chin, chest. Change this, see me a bit better. And Lucy. Okay, so here we are, flat on our bellies. We're going to open our arms up like the letter T. Is that better? Yeah, I think you can see. Okay. And then bring this left hand underneath the shoulder. Bend in the left knee. And we're going to roll back to the left. This foot can place down. So this arm is still behind me. I'm rolling back over. You should feel a like really deep stretch in this left chest and shoulder area. If you're not feeling the stretch as deep as you'd like, you can take this left hand and bring it back behind you as well. You might even be able to interlace your hands behind your back. I'm like literally 16 inches away from that, so like that's just not the way my body is shaped, but it's all good. I think the weight here is nice, but if it's bringing pain, so we want to avoid sharp pain. Yes, do you guys hear the sirens? Perfect timing. Avoid sharp pain as ambulances go by. But this should be intense, so we're like at an 8 intensity level. We're not at the point where you're blacking out or out of breath from the effort. One more breath here. Bring the hand down in front. Bring the leg back in front. Okay. Let's extend the right arm long. Yeah, I'll do it from the other side now so you can see it in case you got lost. And then I'm bending my right elbow so my right hand's below my right shoulder. Bend my right knee. And then roll back to get this foot onto the ground behind me. Just feel a deep stretch in this left shoulder. And maybe this right hand reaches back behind you as if it's going to grab that hand. If it does grab the hand, then you just want to start working your arms up towards that wall up ahead. Find that stretch. And as always, we're fully breathing here. One more deep breath. Bring that hand back down in front. Just rolling forward. Bring both hands underneath the shoulders. Send the hips up and back for our child's pose. Big toes come to touch. Knees splay apart. Release the hips towards the mat. And release the head onto the ground. And we're gonna, so you want your forehead to be on the ground here. If it doesn't reach the ground, you can bring a blanket or a block below the forehead. So you want your head to be resting on something. So we're gonna bring our hands back behind us onto the lower back, and then just let them slide off. So they're just resting heavy here. All right, hands come below the shoulders. We'll come into this inchworm pose. So back to tabletop pose. Walk the hands forward, and then, okay, I'll just demonstrate this first. Because where we're headed is this pose. What we want to feel is an opening of the body from like bottom of the ribs to shoulders. So we're back bending here, but we're gonna tuck under like cat pose from bottom of the ribs to hips. So we're gonna use that leverage. So first things first, just from tabletop, let your hands slide forward, and we're trying to get chest and chin to the ground. So I'm pressing my palms into the ground so hard that my elbows are starting to lift to get that opening in the shoulders. And then I'm going to try to tuck my hips under. And that's going to bring an even deeper stretch to the shoulders. Maybe just being in this first place, just with the chest reaching down towards the ground, feels like enough of a stretch for you, and that's just beautiful. That's where you want to be, breathing there. And just to bring it deeper, we're trying to round in the lower back. So we're using tension to our advantage here, using tension to leverage deeper into deeper stretches in the body. Got one more breath here. Walk the hands back, fingers spread wide, back to tabletop pose, toes tucked under. Yes. Hips press up high for downward facing dog. Alright, so your shoulders should feel pretty open here, chest should feel pretty open. The head a little nod, yes, no. Just let it be heavy. Finding that spacing with the feet here. Sometimes I like just lifting onto my tiptoes and allowing both heels to press down towards the ground, pressing the backs of the knees back. So regardless of if your heels touch the ground in downward facing dog, that's where they're heading towards. And then don't get too hung up on that, because once you're down there, like say if your heels like easily touch the ground, you can start working on lifting your toes. There's always more. There's really literally no finish line in yoga. There's like only starting lines and a million little moments to celebrate in between. There's always more. There's no finished perfect pose. That's the good news. So let's just take a deep breath here in through the nose. Audible sigh out the mouth. Then send your left leg up and back behind you. Bend in the knee and step left hip over right hip. Three-legged dog, reaching the left knee towards the sky. Deep breath in. And exhale, tiger's pose. Round in the spine, knee in towards nose. Lift the belly out of the way. Roll onto the right tiptoes. Bring shoulders up over the wrists. And left foot steps up between the hands. Once again, it's okay if it takes a couple steps for you to get there. Left foot step right up there. Right foot steps up to meet the left. Big toes come to touch. Inhale to a halfway lift. Hands on shins. Exhale, forward fold. And inhale rolls you all the way up to stand. Arms sweep up when you get there. And exhale, hands to heart center. And on the ground. Better? Better. Cool. So we might turn to face one another here. Arms sweep up overhead. And on the exhale, the right arm elbow bends, coming in towards the waist. Palm up towards the sky. Bend in the right knee. And the foot comes in towards the hips. Hand reaches back to grab the inside of the foot. So my palm is still facing the sky. See? Knees come into alignment with one another like you have 1.5 legs. I'm just going to turn to the side so that you can see what I'm doing, but you just keep facing forward. Deep breath in to get tall. Lock your eyes on a point ahead of you that's not moving, preferably not me on the screen because I will be moving. And on the exhale, hinge forward on that left hip. Kicking the right foot up and back behind you, like your toes are going to reach where the back wall meets the ceiling. Let the kicking of the foot be met with a really strong grip from the right hand. Once again, we're using tension with the body. Let that foot kick really open up that right shoulder, that right chest, reaching through left fingertips for your dancer's pose or a standing bow pose. We're breathing fully here, strong in that standing leg, strong in the kick. One more breath here. And returning, like pressing rewind. Release the foot, release the arms. Deep breath in. Let it go. Okay. Inhale, arms sweep up overhead. And exhale, the left elbow bends, palm face up towards the sky. Bend in the left knee. And reach back for the foot. Still the palm is up towards the sky, so I'm grabbing the inner arch, not the outside, the inside. Palms face out and up. Knees come in towards one another like you have 1.5 legs, hips square. I'm just turning so you can see the shape of the pose. You just stay facing forward, deep breath in. And exhale, we hinge forward on that right hip, reaching through the right fingertips, kicking up and back through the left foot. The kicking up and back is where most of the effort is really in this pose, and really just a strong, strong grip through the left hand. If you fall out, just begin again. Just going through all the steps. No rush, no need to worry about it. Just set it up and kick up and back, up and back, up and back. Nice and strong. Bottom leg is strong as well. Breath stays smooth throughout. Really letting the kicking of the foot stretch and open up the left shoulder and chest. One more breath here. And returning, like pressing rewind. Release the foot, release the arm. Take a deep breath in. Side out. Okay, let's just shake off literally whatever just happened or didn't happen. We're just gonna like let it go through our lymphatic shake practice. So coming to a bounce, you can bring a little jump to it, but really you just have to lift your heels and drop them, landing with bent knees to create a bounce and shake in the body, like lifting and dropping my shoulders, just letting my arms really flop out. So we're just letting that go. If you have a dog or you've seen dogs play, and then sometimes they get too rough and it kind of turns almost into a fight. But then once they're separated, they literally shake it off, and then they get along just fine after, even though they were literally just in a fight. Once they shake it off, it's just like a reset, like an etch and sketch. And you kind of think of lymphatic shaking like that. Like whatever was just built up on whatever calculations were just made,
whatever negative comments were just made, you know, however your brain goes when you're trying something new or attempting something and not quite getting it. We're just etch and sketch shaking that away now. So you can continue with class with a clear board. Balance tends, I don't mean to make that assumption for you as an individual, but balance tends to far and wide be that part of class that often we feel like not even attempting to participate in because it looks too hard, or we don't want to fall, or we have some fear or judgment about it as a practice or ourselves as a being. But something to remember is that all day when we're standing, we are balancing. And we've just been practicing balancing on both feet our entire lives. When you're born and you're a baby, you don't even know how to stand on 2 legs. You can only do it on 4. Well, I think at first you can't do it on any, but at some point you're on 4, right? And then as you grow, you learn to balance on 2 legs. And then in yoga, we learn to balance on 1. It's just a progression. It's not, you know, the end of the world, and it's gonna take practice. It's not something that a 2-year-old, you're not gonna skip from crawling on all 4s to standing in dance or a tree pose. So don't get too hung up on it. It's just for fun. It's just for learning. It's just for exploring new patterns of movement in the body. All right, so here we are shaking. We just got like 10 seconds left. So really whatever you've got left to shake out, do it now. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so feel that warmth, that tingling. Let's use that prana, that energy that we just built up, for our breath of joy. So this is a practice that's all about letting go. So it's a 4-part breath. 3 inhales through the nose and a big ha, yell out through the mouth. Inhaling, the arms sweep forward. Inhaling, the arms sweep out. Inhaling, the arms sweep forward, and a big ha, arms sweep back on the exhale. Mindful that you're not too close to the wall or any furniture in your room. Feet come shoulders distance apart, a little bend in the knees. We've got about 10 rounds of this. In, ha, in, ha, in, ha, in, ha. Ha! 3 left if you haven't joined in yet. Now's your chance. Ha! Ha! Last one, make it count. Ha! One hand on the belly, one hand on the heart. Eyes can close. Let's just take a moment here to arrive and observe what was created. Taking your body like a snow globe and giving it a righteous shake. Now we view and observe where that glitter dust settled. And what was revealed. Not good or bad, not right or wrong, just something to notice. We'll gently blink the eyes open. You can grab a sip of water. towel off any sweat that might have built up. I'm also going to invite you to grab a blanket or a towel. If you don't have one already, we're going to use it in a couple poses. Alright, so if you're already on the mat, if you're already on the ground, stay there. We'll meet you. If not, you can come down with me. Meeting at the back of the mat, inhale, arms sweep up overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half lift. And exhale, knees bend deep, deep, deep. Walk your hands back to come to seated. Okay. Feet come together, let the knees splay apart. A couple little butterfly flaps, just a signal to your hips that it's okay that we've arrived here. Give feet a little bit of a massage. So here, might as well take advantage of that. Alright, grabbing onto the ankles or legs. Use that grip to get nice and tall. And exhale, we hinge forward. Belly, chest, head. You can use your elbows to press into the knees, opening them up towards the ground. It doesn't matter if they touch the ground or not. My knees don't touch the ground, but that's okay. The idea is just to get a nice deep stretch in the hips. So that's where you want the focus to be. The head be heavy. Got one more breath here. And bring yourself back upright. We'll extend the left leg long, and the right foot comes to the outside of the left knee. Right hand comes on the ground behind you, close to your lower back. Press it into the ground to get a nice tall spine. There's a string attached to the crown of your head, reaching you skyward. Belly is almost like reaching forward towards that thigh. Deep breath in, arm sweeps up. And on the exhale, we twist right. Hook the elbow with the knee if possible. If your knee doesn't reach the other side, just hug the knee in, and that's great too. That's a pull in. Or a hook and press back. I'm pressing my right shoulder back behind me and opening my chest towards the side wall. Let's flex through that extended left leg for this seated spinal twist, Matsyendrasana. Imagine your spine like a spiral staircase turning from base, center, to top. Shoulders, even the head might even look over the right shoulder, but that's just kind of like window dressing. We really want to focus on the transverse and lumbar spine, so that's from the shoulders down to the hips. Every inhale gets you a little bit taller, finding space in the spine, and the exhales are a deepening of the twist. It might not be obvious, it might just be subtle. You can feel it within your body as you exhale, belly button pulls in towards spine. You might find that little space for more twist. One more deep breath here. And then we release back through center. Extend the right leg long. Left foot comes to the outside of the right knee. Left hand comes onto the ground close to the lower back. And use that press into the ground to get a nice, tall, straight spine. Flex through the extended right heel, foot. And the right arm sweeps up on the inhale. Exhale, twisting to the left, hugging or hooking the knee, and then I use that press to open the left shoulder back behind me. Matsyendrasana spinal twist, pressing the right heel away, opening that left shoulder back. Spine like a spiral staircase, turning counterclockwise. breathing fully, even in the contortion of a twist. One more deep breath here. And bring it back through center. All right, unhook the legs. Now take your blanket or your
Towel.
and we're gonna roll it up. So, okay, so if it's like Matt's distance, Matt's length, like fold it into more or less this shape, we're just gonna take it and roll it up. So obviously it's gonna be a little different depending what kind of blanket you have, but we'll do the best that we can working from home, right? Then I'm gonna turn it so it's going the same distance as my mat, right? So same orientation. Turning back around, and maybe like a fist distance between the blanket and my hips. I'm gonna slowly walk it back or roll it back. So my head lands on the blanket, my shoulder, or rather my whole spine lands on the blanket, and my hips are on the ground. So hips on the ground, back on the blanket. If your blanket is short, then it's okay for your head to actually be on the ground. If it reaches, you just don't want your head to be floating. So you want your head to be either on the blanket or on the ground or on a block, on something, so it's not just like floating in space. Reach your arms up towards the sky, really like rounding in the upper back, so you're pulling your shoulder blades away from one another. And then as you open your arms out like the letter T, let your shoulder blades slide down either side of the blanket. So just letting the shoulder blades roll off the blanket here. So here my legs are just kind of naturally landed in broken bridge pose, and that's with my feet out to the edges of the mat and the knees knocked together. Alternately, it might feel good for you to bring your feet together and let your knees splay open like we practice in our seated Baddha Konasana. This is a reclining Baddha Konasana, reclining bound angle pose. So if your hips are happy in the other variation, they might really enjoy this. But we don't want to take we just want to take our time to get here. There's no rush to get to this shape. If it brings any panic, we're going to start scrunching up the shoulders. What we really want to do is just relax the shoulders and the chest here and just allow gravity to really work with us to open up the body. Gravity and breath doing the work here. You can let your eyes close. Every inhale, we scan the body, finding any tension. And every exhale is an opportunity to let something go. Maybe some space between the, inviting some space between the eyebrows. Letting the jaw hang heavy. All the muscles of the face relax. So we call these back bends and really chest opening postures, heart openers in yoga, because they bring in the vulnerability kind of aspects of our psyche. You think about when people or even animals are going to protect themselves, they roll into a ball. They protect their squishy little bellies, like a hedgehog or a porcupine, right? And so the opposite is this very vulnerable position of having your heart open, your belly exposed. Psychologically, at some primitive point, we haven't let that go. And so even if we're not speaking or sharing something in the traditional sense of vulnerability, laying in a pose like this is physically vulnerable. And it might be triggering to some of those aspects in your mind. You just want to observe that, like everything else in class, like clouds passing in the sky, is your breath shortened by this posture? Are you feeling a sense of panic? And if so, we can bring in the techniques that we've been working on with pranayama, with breathing, to help ease our way through that discomfort, through that alert system. Calming the alarms and reassuring the body that it's okay by slowing and deepening the breath. We know that by elongating the exhalation and making it longer than the inhale, we help ease the body out of fight or flight mode and into rest and digest. We've just got one last breath here. And then bring the knees back together. And we'll just roll over to one side. Just taking a moment here. Fetal position. Take the blanket out from underneath you. And rolling back down onto your back. Notice, is there any last movement or stretch that your body's asking for? Or are you feeling ready for Shavasana? So you may feel really calm from that, so you can just be ready for stillness, and that's beautiful with your legs extended down long. Or if there's any last little stretch or wiggle that your body's asking for, rolling through that intuitively, no rules here. When you are ready for that corpse pose, legs extend down the length of the mat, feet come at least a foot apart from one another. Legs so relaxed that the feet naturally splay apart. Shoulders tuck under to support the chest, and arms release down by the sides, palms face open. A symbol, a mudra of receptivity. Allow yourself to receive the full benefits of your effort here today. Eyes can close if that's comfortable. If not, a soft gaze towards the sky is just fine. Or you can be in broken bridge with the knees knocked together, hips rise and tuck, elongating the lower back as you place the hips back down. So broken bridge or corpse pose, or seated in your chair for those of you who practice in a chair. For our final meditation together for the day. So Shavasana is all about integration. Integrating all that you've practiced in class into long-term memory, muscle memory. And just allow the eyes to be heavy. We'll start this practice with 3 cleansing breaths, in through the nose and an audible sigh out through the mouth. Continue in and out through the nose if that's available. Allow your exhalations to become longer and deeper than your inhalations. Every exhale sinks you deeper and heavier into the ground below you. All the muscles of the face relax. Head rests heavy. The shoulders and arms relax. Torso resting heavy. Hips and legs rest. Feet rest as well. Belly naturally rising and falling with the breath. Breath passing in and out through relaxed nostrils like waves lapping up to shore. And imagine the waves in the ocean, the bright blue sky. Endless blue. And even when storm clouds roll in and the seas darken and waves crash, if you dive deep towards the center, towards the core of the ocean, it is undisturbed and unaffected by whatever violent storms appear. So our true selves are undisturbed by whatever drama unfolds on the surface. Deep down past the layers of body, breath, and mind, where our true selves reside.
not happen in class today. And know that in yoga, practice makes practice. Invite your inhalations to deepen as your fingers begin to wiggle and toes begin to curl. Every inhale replaces that feeling of heaviness with a feeling of lightness and expansion as head rocks side to side. Arms reach up overhead for a full body stretch. Let the knees bend and roll over to whichever side feels natural, landing in a fetal position. Fully relaxed and fully supported by the ground below you. Bring to mind any intention or dedication you set for class today. And if that intention inspires you, take it with you off the mat and into the world. Allow it to affect you and the people around you for the rest of your day. With eyes still closed or gently lowered, press your hands into the ground to come up to a seated position, just like how we started class. Hands come to meet at heart center, Anjali Mudra. Today we worked on a series of chest and shoulder opening postures. The first namaste said silently to yourself, thanking your body for the effort it put into class. And the second namaste said out loud to the community that held this space. Namaste. Thank you, thank you, thank you to everyone who joined me today. I hope you found something that serves you. Thanks to everyone who joined me on the ground in all the poses today. For those of you who come in just for the meditations or who are lurking with some singing bowls in the background, I appreciate you all. Each and every one of you contributes with your presence. All right. Ethereal, namaste. How are you, my friend? Yes, thank you for dropping the, let's see, tips, information, and also for reminding me to drop the, weird. Thanks, Lauren. Do you feel a little bit more open in your chest and like upper torso, like shoulder area? Thanks. Yeah, I haven't really done anything with it today, but I felt like I needed to do something, so I had Pat shave it for me. Yeah, Ethereal. I don't know why. I don't think my Stream Elements is working. I have to figure that out. But thank you for dropping the tips. So, and reminding me to mention tips anyway. If you do drop a $5 tip, you get a recording of class with timestamps to all your favorite parts of class, so you can just skip to the meditations or the singing bowls or the movement if you'd like. You don't have to have all the in-between parts of me talking. Or if you need that space to just like lymphatic shake and yell, I would love to give you that permission slip to do so. I do have been tight there for a long time, so it was super helpful. Awesome. Good. I'm really glad. It felt good for me too. I didn't really know what I wanted to do in class today, so it was nice to have a little direction. And it worked really well with yesterday's shoulder and neck class. So good. I'm really glad. So yeah, the tips information is on my About page, but also just like my Venmo. I appreciate everyone who has been supporting me in this venture. I can't believe today's day 100. We've live streamed 100 classes together, guys. That's wild. Like, yeah, I mean, I guess we started Thanksgiving weekend. So, I mean, it's been a while, but I don't know. I'm really glad to have made it to 100. I'm gonna keep going. Like, I'll be here on Wednesday, same time, same place. Because I really like this community that's been building, and I appreciate all of you guys. Thank you, Pentacle Feelings. Yeah, I don't know. Gonna have to probably wait till I'm like fully vaccinated before I teach in a yoga studio, like in real life again. But that probably won't intercept my Twitch teaching. So we're just gonna keep rolling here and building up this community too. So thank you guys for sharing about this class and inviting your friends and tipping and just showing up and practicing with me. It definitely keeps me like sane. I feel like I'm still part of the community. I started working again, so I can't come as often, but I get excited for my days off when I can join live. Awesome. Well, thanks for making the time on the days that you can come. Congrats for working again, I would say, right? I think that's a good thing. Everyone's like starting to get back to work. Yeah, I think I probably will end up working back in a studio, and I mean that like happily, but I mean Twitch is 24 hours a day, so it's like I could technically just change the time here if it were to intercept, but I don't think it's going to be a problem. Oh, looks like Yoga with Jen is on. Let's read her. Yoga with Jen. So yeah, I'm always available to answer questions. I'm always down to take requests, answer concerns, just talk yoga and philosophy with you guys. So you can just private message me anywhere. Instagram's probably the best place, but even here on Twitch, send me a whisper. If you know me in real life, obviously just text me. I appreciate you. Alright, Yoga with Jen is really sweet and good vibes, so I think she is a